gentleman who's a non-resident Indian. He's based in Dubai. He's the head of an asset management bank, which is Central Bank of Dubai. He brings in 24 years of experience. He is an engineer. He is also an MBA from IIT Ghaziabad. And you will be surprised to know he is also a fabulous author. I have read his book. And his book conveys the message that how do you convert your student life to a corporate life. What's the journey from college to corporate? So please welcome Mr.Deepak Mehra.
Thank you very much, guys, for attending this session here and taking time out of your busy college schedule. Thank you very much, Puneet. I'm based in Dubai, and it was about a few months back that I first got in touch with Puneet. And when I learned about Prowisdom, I was so excited. I couldn't hold my excitement. I remember Friday, which is our day off over there. I gave a call to Puneet in the morning, and we must have chatted for about half an hour, 45 minutes. And I said, look, what you are planning to do, Puneet, bringing the corporate world and the concept of mentorship to the students was a gap, a gaping gap for decades. And I did my studies, I finished my MBA in 1991, 24 years back. I'm 48 years old, by the way. So probably 3 times your average age here. I wish somebody like you, somebody like Prowisdom had appeared on the scene at that stage. And this has been a gap for so long. So I congratulated him and I said, look, is there anything that I can do to assist in this mentorship, where we would like to come to the students and share our experiences. You know, there is nothing, there is no shortcut to success. As I see it, success is extremely simple. However, it's not easy. So there is a difference. And it's so simple that if you can have somebody to mentor you, somebody to even just answer your questions when you have doubts in your mind, technical or non-technical, you can go on those paths that you wanted to go on, and not like Puneet said, he was on a path and then he had to take a U-turn. I was on a path for 20 years before I realized that I was on a wrong path. So that is when something dawned upon me and I wrote a book. And I realized that I have to share my experiences with others. Actually, it happened when my daughter was about to go to the engineering college. And I said, what am I going to tell her as she enters the professional world? And some notes I started writing, which finally, over a period of time, became a book. And it was quite appreciated. And I've been sharing it in different forums. I've now been invited to INSEAD to present to the students over there. And this is Europe's biggest MBA institute and so on. So that's not the purpose of my coming here. I was given a set of questions, and I will have another session after Gitanjali when I'll cover more about what I'm speaking now. But there were certain technical questions which were passed on to us. What is the difference between CFP, CFA, and technical analyst? Okay, is that a question that interests some of you? Very simple. These all the 3 are degrees related to investments, doing investments. CFP, Chartered Financial Planner, is somebody who can plan your finances. If you have money to invest, or if you're earning money and you want to put that money aside in a way that you have certain goals to achieve later on, then the financial planner can help you achieve your goals by investing your money based on your risk profile. Some people can take risks, some cannot take risks. There is a very scientific process of assessing risk. So the CFP knows how to assess you, your life situation and your risk profile, and then make an investment portfolio for you. That is what a CFP does. It's mostly a sales job, a relationship management job in banks. So if you are a CFP, you will become a wealth manager, a relationship manager for investments, which is a very lucrative career. This leads to private banking careers. And I know private bankers who have retired at the age of 35 and they did not need to work after that because it is heavily remunerated. CFA, on the other hand, is Chartered Financial Analyst. It's a very, very broad job. It covers all the aspects of investments. Not just the application of investments, but the theory of investments, the theory of portfolio management, the theory of understanding different asset classes. There are shares in the market, equities. There are bonds, which is called fixed income. There are alternative asset classes, which are called hedge funds. There are derivatives, which you would have heard about, options and futures. So it encompasses everything, theory and practice. And when somebody does a CFA, it's a very, very difficult qualification to achieve. It is issued by the CFA Institute in the US. There are 3 levels in that, and the pass rates are abysmal. It takes, the brightest of the students take about 3 years. Though I know somebody who used to work with me, an Iraqi lady, she did it in first attempt, all the 3. In 1.5 years she was out. And it was sort of a record in Dubai where she did it in 1.5 years. Average, it takes about 3 years. Some take about 5 years. The good part is once you have a CFA degree, you are a senior level generalist in fitting into any investment job anywhere in the world. And it is portable. The CFA charter holder in India or the CFA charter holder in Dubai or Australia or UK or US is the same. So you have a stamp which is acceptable worldwide. The third is technical analyst. A technical analyst is a very narrow position who's analyzing the market data of stocks and bonds, looking at the past behavior of stocks and bonds and trying to analyze which ones to invest in, which ones to sell, when to invest or when to sell, and what do we expect in the future with this chart. So he's a chartist. These are technicians. The jobs that you get as a technical analyst are in mutual funds because they are constantly analyzing equities, fixed income, and they are making portfolios or mutual funds of equities and fixed income. They need chartists, they need technical analysts. It's again a very well-paying job. It's a very focused job. Very often I've seen technical analysts who are working with us have to go and do a CFA to really graduate into portfolio management, where they can tomorrow become a fund manager and manage money. Or if they are moving into the relationship side, have to do a CFP, become a relationship manager, having coming from a technical background. So these are the 3 things which I would do. We could delve much longer, but this is in short. Which is better, MBA in finance or CFA? Now, MBA in finance is Master of Business Administration, that is Chartered Financial Analyst. CFA is a focused investments degree. MBA is a very wide-ranging administrative degree, where finance, of course, you could specialize in finance, but then finance does not mean investments alone, and MBA cannot mean finance alone. And then the other things that you study, like marketing, like production management, like HR, and because MBA is always very holistic. You could always specialize in finance, but that finance can take you into financial management. It need not be investment management. You could become a finance manager in a company. You could become the chief financial officer in a company. If you're planning to start your own business and you want to raise money, you should understand what does raising money mean. So definitely an MBA in finance will give you a holistic exposure or holistic education to start your own business or manage somebody else's business. Also understand the financial aspects of it, the HR aspects, the marketing aspects, the people aspects, and so on. What is better? It depends what you want to achieve. If you want to specialize in investments, go for CFA. If you want the general experience of doing business, whether as an entrepreneur or for somebody else, go for MBA, because CFA does not teach you. What is investment banking? And what are the qualities required to be an investment banker? What is investment banking? First, we must differentiate between two statements, two terms which are very commonly misinterpreted by even senior people in the industry. Investment management investment banking. These are two different things. Investment management means managing money. Investment banking means raising capital, advising companies to raise capital. Capital could be in the form of equities or bonds. Helping companies to merge with each other if there is a merger happening. Helping companies to acquire another company if it wants to grow. Advising companies. Helping them issue shares in the market. Helping them issue bonds in the market. This is investment management. This is investment banking. Thank you. Investment management is investing money. What we just discussed. CFA does investment management. CFP does investment management. Technical analyst is doing investment management. So never confuse the two terms. Investment banking is hardly banking. Actually, it's a misnomer. It's no banking there. It's basically understanding the balance sheets of companies, saying what is the best way for this company to raise money. Should it go into the equity markets to raise money, shares, or should it go into the bond market? Should it acquire another company? I'm a food company. I want to grow. Should I open my own factories, or should I go acquire food companies in different parts of India? This is investment bankers' role, advising, ensuring that that deal goes through. Sometimes broking transactions, broking the deal. The skills required for investment banking are not necessarily banking skills. The skills required for investment banking is understanding the balance sheet, understanding how to negotiate, and then striking those tough transactions, tough deals. So here is Tata's that wants to go buy the biggest tea manufacturer in UK, Tetley, which happened many years back. How come Tata's found Tetley, and why did Tetley agree to sell to Tata's? It went through 3 years of negotiations. Who was negotiating? Not Tata's, not Tetley. Both had appointed investment bankers. They had appointed J.P. Morgan, they had appointed Chase Manhattan. Chase and J.P. Morgan were breaking each other's head for 3 years. Till both of them trying to get the best deal for their own party. Tata's wanting to pay the least, Tetley's trying to get the most when we sell. This is negotiation. So what do you require? You require negotiating skills. You require balance sheet, understanding the balance sheet, understanding holistically how that company is run. So who are the investment bankers that I come across? They are mostly MBAs. The global recession in 2008. This is a very big question. How much time do we have?
10 minutes.
10 minutes more? No, I don't want to take away because you have to use this and then we don't have the projector in the other. I finished it. How did the 2008 crisis happen? The 2008 crisis in the US is also called the subprime crisis. I'm sure you've heard about this name, subprime crisis. Yes. In the US, you have this concept of the American dream. The American dream is the dream of owning a house. And everything that works in the American banking system or the central banks and the government is ensuring that every American owns a house. When we had the 9/11 tragedy in the US, 2001, the economy slowed down majorly. And the central bank of US, which is called Federal Reserve, had to cut down interest rates. When the interest rates are low, it becomes easier and cheaper to borrow and the economy can grow once again. When the rates were cut to very dramatically low level, the American dream also became easier because you could borrow at cheap rates and buy houses. So the banks started pushing people saying, this is your best opportunity, the rates have been high for decades. This is the first time rates have come down so much, go buy your homes. And the property prices started rising and more people started making money by investing in property, whether they needed it or not, it's a secondary thing. So second house, third house, fourth house, and you could buy and sell it within 6 months and make money. And the banks were enjoying this ride because they were lending more and more and making more and more profit. When they hit their cap, that they couldn't lend more, they reduced their credit criteria, the criteria of selection of borrowers. They said now even if you don't have a salary, it doesn't matter. You can still own a home because the first 2 years they were going to charge you any interest. The interest will start from the third year onwards. So people who had meager jobs, who could not afford a mortgage, who could not afford a house, also started buying house. This is called, by the way, subprime lending. Not prime, not the people who can afford the loans, but people who could not afford the loans were also being enticed to buying because they said you don't have to worry. Buy the property now, 1 year from now sell it because it will be up 10-15% and we're going to charge you only 2% interest rate for this period. So go for it. These loans started building up. The banks again hit the cap, they could not lend more, so they started selling their loans out as investment products. So you have given a loan, let's say Puneet is a money lender, he's given me loan. Now, and he's given 10 people loan. He's run out of his money. He says, I want to make more loans. Because every time I make a loan, I charge an upfront fees. I charge a management fees. I'm very good. So he goes and he says, look, I'm sitting on these 10 loans. He goes to Gitanjali and says, Gitanjali, you have extra money and you said you wanted to make regular income. I'll give you 10 loans. You buy my loans and give me some money. So she buys those 10 loans and gives him all the money that he had lent. Now he has money again to lend. He starts lending once again and he's happy getting that fees upfront. This is called securitization of loans. You create loans into a security, into a share, into a bond, and you sell it off. More and more of that started happening to an extent that all pension funds, all insurance companies that wanted regular income started buying American loans world over. But this cycle would not have gone on forever because the property prices in America were going to unrealistic level. At some stage, they realized that those 1 year and 2 year interest-free period ended, and those guys who could not afford the loans actually started defaulting because now they had to pay an installment. First 2 years they were allowed not to pay installments under certain schemes, attractive marketing schemes. And when they were asked for installments, they did not have installments to give. So the properties were sold by force by the banks. And properties started getting sold, all property market collapsed. It happened very quickly. But these package loans were lying all over the world. So the banks got scared. We've given these packages to other banks. Every bank seems to have exposure to this package. Can I trust another bank when I deal with it? Bank to bank trust vanished overnight. So there was a crisis of trust, crisis of confidence. Banks stopped dealing with each other. Banks stopped lending. And the whole economy came to a grinding halt. This is what 2008 crisis in short is. We can go on, but I hope you've got a gist of what really happened. What is this European crisis? What happened in Europe? What is this Greek crisis and Portuguese and Ireland and Spain and Italy? What happened here? This is a crisis which is political in its background. Look, Europeans were always fighting with each other throughout history. After the Second World War, they said, let's not fight with each other, let's be friends. Let's have a common Eurozone. This concept of common interests came. A Maastricht Treaty was signed which said we will now have common financial markets as well and a common currency. In 1999, Euro was introduced as a common currency for all the countries because they said if you are financially linked with each other, you can never fight battles once again. The whole idea was never to fight with each other. So the Euro currency was created with a lot of fanfare, and that is the genesis of the problem. What Euro did is, it brought all the countries on the same platform. Greece or Portugal, even before 1999, were emerging market countries in Europe. They were never developed countries. But with a common currency, they all became part of the same currency and they could now borrow money at the same rate as countries like Germany, which were the powerhouse of Eurozone. So Greece's borrowing cost was 7% per annum. Germany's borrowing cost was 2% per annum. The day Euro was formed and they became the same, both would borrow money at 2% per annum. Now imagine these Greeks who like to have, or the Portuguese, or the Spanish, or the Italians, who like to have their afternoon siesta, retire at the age of 50, have paternity leave for 4 years, have different conditions that allow them to work 4 hours a week and say 4 hours a day and so on. Now to borrow at 2%, the government said this is a great time to increase benefits of our people. We've been living poor life compared to Germans and French and so on. So infrastructure development and borrowing and this and that started. At the same time, the workers' union in Germany were very scared when Euro was formed. They said, oh my God, these Greeks and Portuguese and Spanish and Italians will be allowed to travel freely within the Eurozone and come and work anywhere they feel like. Which means they are going to come and take our jobs. These are the hard-working third world people from Greece. And we are the developed country like Germany, they are going to take all our jobs. So the German unionists, trade unionists, fought with the government to ensure that our salaries will be frozen. Our salaries will never go up. The union made that pitch to the German government. At the same time, because they were worried about protecting their industry, the Greeks and others unions were saying, now we are part of Europe, our salaries should go up. We should live the same quality of life as Germans do. So their cost of manufacturing and cost of working started going up, whereas the Germans' cost of manufacturing and other things remained the same. Germany became more and more competitive, whereas Greeks and others became less and less competitive and were piling on debt. Out of the blue, Greece decided we want to have Olympics, Athens Olympics. They took on debt that they could never repay. Then infrastructure development, and our airport should look exactly the same as Charles de Gaulle, and the story started and never ended. To the extent that so much of debt was piled on that they can't service the debt. And this is the genesis of the European crisis. So when the banking crisis hit in the US, many banks suffered in Europe as well, but that did not cause the European crisis. European crisis came because these countries just ran out of money to service their debt. So they had to go back to the European Central Bank and said, please give us respite, we can't service our loans. So that was a default, and they were allowed to default. They were given bailout money. They again reissued bonds, again defaulted, again bailed out, third time bailed out very recently. There is no end to it because they have just too much of debt. So this crisis is going to go on, linger on for a very long time. And that is why European Central Bank has kept interest rates low and will remain low for a long time till all these peripheral countries recover. It's going to take a long time. Those are the questions I've got. If you have any questions, I have over 1 minute. Chinese economy, 82 to 85% depends upon exports. When the world economy slowed down, first in the US and then in Europe, which were the biggest markets for China, the Chinese exports also started slowing down. But luckily, we had something called quantitative easing in US, where the central bank started printing money and giving money for practically free to the banks. Same in Europe, same in Japan. A lot of money started chasing Chinese equities, Chinese bonds, Indian equities, Indian bonds, emerging market equities, and so much money came into the emerging markets that we thought that we are doing extremely well. Actually, we were living on borrowed money. China was also living on borrowed money. It kept building highways, kept building airports, cities where no one had to live. Till the time they realized that their exports have gone so slow that they can't sustain all these investments in their own economy. The domestic demand has still not come there. And hence Chinese economy is in doldrums. China is the biggest consumer of commodities in the world. China slowing down has ensured all commodity prices fell. Oil has become half. Copper, iron ore, alumina, fallen 50% thanks to Chinese demand slowing down.